first one is the rising importance of the Jerusalem issue. I've been writing about this a little bit, but I want to stress that it is not just an abstract issue of, an item on the agenda or not on the agenda, as Netanyahu would no doubt prefer for it not to be on the diplomatic agenda. Jerusalem is an issue of 270,000 people living in horrendous fear, the Palestinians of East Jerusalem. I mean, they are really embattled. And I went and did this interview with this wonderful woman, Kamel El-Kurt, who's one of the ones who was, she and her aging and infirm husband were kicked out of their house at 3:30 a.m. Back in November. They then moved into a tent on the lot next door. This was so settlers could move in. This is deep in the Palestinian area of Sheikh Jarrah. Her husband then died. She carried on living in the tent, and now they've got tents outside Silwan where the people are being threatened with home demolitions and are having home demolitions. There are tents in Gaza. The tent is both like she's living in a tent because she wants to be close to where she lived, but it's also a very potent symbol. It connects what's happening in Palestine today, in Gaza, in Jerusalem, with 1948. And so that Jerusalem, just learn all you can about Jerusalem and think what you can do to help the situation of the Palestinians there, as well as get the diplomatic issue resolved. Secondly, I don't want to leave you with a completely bleak picture of Jewish Israeli society. There are significant new trends, teeny-weeny little trends, but we have to take our hope from where we can get it in Israeli Jewish society. I met with some people from an organization called Zochrot. I don't know how many of you know about this. Zochrot is a Jewish Israeli organization whose mission is to do Nakba education amongst their fellow Jewish Israelis. And I urge you to go and find out about them. They do really interesting things, like Canada Park, they're not just looking at the Nakba of 1948, but like many people who look at this issue, they think of the Nakba as a kind of a continuous, yeah.
Could you spell the name, please?
Z-O-C-H-R-O-T, Zochrot. It means memorial. So they'll go to the ruins of a destroyed Arab village, whether it's from 1948 or 1967, and you can always recognize, as you drive around Israel, you can recognize the ruins of most of the destroyed Arab villages. And they will do research on, here was the school, here was the mosque, here was the cemetery, here was, the home of the baker, whatever. They do quite a lot of research on what the village was like, and they have people who work with them in the Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon who will find survivors of the Nakba from that village. And on one occasion, they took pictures of these old men and women in Ain al-Helwe camp, blew them up to life size, and took them and placed the picture in the ruins of the village, and then invited people to come and, discuss the issue there. And then they produced beautiful books. Zochrot gets a lot of support from Europe, but it hasn't gotten any, as far as I know, from this country. I think that's an organization that we should know more about. I mean, to me, the idea of doing Nakba education amongst Jewish Israelis, like the guy says, Eitan Bronstein, who's running it, it's not easy, but it's very important. Because otherwise, you have whole generations of Israelis who only became Israelis within the last 20 years. And, they get a lot of Holocaust education, so that, that connects them with Jewish history, but they don't get any, like the older generation of Israelis that were there in 1948, essentially they know what happened in 1948, whether they want to talk about it or not. But the newer Israelis have no idea what happened in 1948. So that's the new organizations. Good organization in working on Jerusalem issues, Ir Amim. That's I-R space A-M-I-M. It means City of the Nations. And then I'll just leave you with this little political idea that Fatah, as I sketched out, is currently unable to make a decision about anything. If the PA Oslo project is to be saved, then only Hamas can save it. Actually, Amira Hass wrote something to this effect the other day, but I reached the conclusion before she published that. We should not underestimate the importance within Hamas of the decision they made in 2005 to participate in the elections, which marked a strategic shift for them. But how long they will stay on this path of participating in PA projects and essentially propping them up, we don't know. So only Hamas can save the two-state solution, and therefore only Hamas can ensure the survival of Israel as a Jewish state. That's another irony. And I signal this. This is an irony. But how long will Hamas continue to buy into the PA project? That is, in a sense, the great unknown. Thank you.